Hello, my name is Amit Upadhye, architect. I own a small studio here. It's a boutique shop, and we do high-end residential work. And I did my first debut project at the base of those mountains, the McDowell Mountains. And that client referred me to this particular client here. They were colleagues at Mayo Clinic. And he bought this 1.6 acres of land back in 2007 and invited me to paint the painting on this canvas, he said. And I took over the job. We designed this whole thing as a conceptual. We got it through the city. It takes a lot of time because this is a hillside. And then the recession hit and the project was put on hold. But I want to talk about the overall concept of the project. It's called Bars and Bridges, and I'll tell you why and how the name came about. So if you look at on this side, you're seeing the mountains. That's the catchment area of the mountains, and that's where the rainfall comes through under that road and daylights on this wash. And in the Sonoran Desert, there is this indomitable natural phenomena on a force that actually shapes the landscape, which is called the flash floods. You know, whenever it rains, that catchment area brings the water, but this is not a very significant wash, but it still needs to be respected. So that indomitable force actually splits the plan into two parts, the east bar and the west bar. So what you're seeing back there is the west bar, and then what is here, which is the driveway and the garage, that's the east bar of this component, which is the party diagram of the house. And rest everything was designed around this concept. So there are these bars and then there are bridges that sit over it. And these bridges actually are called for because I have to straddle the wash in a certain way. This project was very difficult to deal with because there are 3 washes through this project. It ends into a drainage easement on the other side. So there are a ton of restrictions from the height restrictions. And there are also other parameters that we had to take care of, such as the proximity to the Tatum Boulevard, the proximity to the fire station over there, and all these houses on the mountains, they're looking down on the project. So this project has a lot of challenges that we had to deal with in terms of laying this out, but we have maximized it as much as we could. And the thing is, the common areas of the house are near the road, whereas the private areas of the house are split by the wash. All the bedrooms and all the other private spaces are on the west side. So this is how it is. It's a private bar versus a more common public bar on the east side. And then at the road level, there is a second floor that goes all the way from this wall here all the way to that beam that is hanging out there. That's how big the upper bar is, which is a bridge, which is the entertainment space of the house. So there is an introverted lower floor, and there is more of an extroverted space on the upper floor. That's how the project is designed. And I'm glad that it is coming to fruition now. And finally, you might wonder what these huge beams are. Every one of these 2 of these beams are specially designed to take the load of the swimming pool. Each of these beams is 15,000 pounds. And if you see further out there, there are these 2 walls sitting across the wash as anthropomorphic places or forms, which as though there are 2 human beings standing across the wash having a dialogue and raising their arms to touch across. So these beams are going to sit on the shoulders of those 2 anthropomorphic walls, and then the pool is going to go in it like a parallel bar. It will sit in it, and you can lap pool across the wash while the natural force of the water or the flow of the water is going north-south versus this perpendicular man-made water body. You can swim across the wash in the perpendicular way. So that's how the plan is done. So let's walk down to the garage level and see what's happening there. So as you come into this 4-car garage, the garage has a abnormal depth. It's actually much deeper than a normal garage could be, and even the width wise, it's a huge garage. But you can actually drive over this entire space. you come in. So if you have like a sports car, for instance, you can park 8 of them out here in a tandem fashion. But if you have an SUV, you'd be able to park 4 SUVs very easily. The roof is covering it up, and that roof starts from here all the way and goes all the way till that end of that other beam. That's how long this contiguous roof is. And we'll see it in some of the drawings that will talk about that. And then out here, let's imagine that you come with a car with the groceries, for instance. You would be able to park your car right here. In this corner, right here, as you open your trunk, you take your groceries out, and you should be able to put them in a dumbwaiter. This dumbwaiter goes down into the pantry, into the butler kitchen directly, which we will discuss down there. But that's how easy it is for you to take the groceries down, because this garage is on the 2nd level and the living space is on the lower level. So the groceries go down straight next to your refrigerator. You just open the door and pull them out and put them in your refrigerator downstairs. So what you're looking at is the garage concrete, which is integrally colored, being poured. There are separate finishes on it. We will look at the driveway finish, the motor court, and the garage finish next. Thanks.
I was involved in the sale of a home that also used formed concrete but did not incorporate steel or glass, and the concrete wasn't colored or finished in any distinctive way. I'd love to hear more about the unique way you're using concrete in this home, both in terms of finish and form.
And we are taking 2x4 wood material, which is the studs that you get, and you sandblast them lightly so that that sandblasting brings about the wood grain. And that wood grain then gets cast into the concrete. The concrete is warmed up for a reason, to kind of blend into the dirt here. But all of that wood also makes the concrete, it's more acceptable to the, it's not cold, it's warm. It has this wood texture to it, which brings about that warmth out of the concrete, which is why we are doing this. Now this is what you're seeing now. Look at all that beautiful micro shadows that are being cast on that particular wall out there, and that's all because of the sandblasting and the wood form concrete.
One of the things that makes this home truly extraordinary is the meticulous attention to detail in every aspect of its design. I'm especially intrigued by these 3 concrete samples. Could you share more about the inspiration and intended use for them?
So we have the driveway coming from the road, Charles Drive, and that driveway is going to be the rough finish with grooved, things on the driveway for a better traction for the car. But as you land into the motor court, it kind of softens out into exposed aggregate, integrally colored concrete, and that will give you a sense of arrival. There's a connection between that motor court and a walkway, which is defined with glass aggregate on the side of the wall, so that when you park your car, you get down onto a glass aggregate concrete, and it defines the walkway to the entry feature of the house at the 2nd floor. And then as you open the garage doors, you're going to see the McDowell Mountain range through the window. And the garage concrete is acid washed very lightly, so that you get this beautiful sand kind of look at it. And then it's going to be sealed with some kind of polyurethane finish on top of that, so it doesn't leave any tire marks as you turn your wheels. So I think it is much more refined. It's just like woodworking, where you get the higher grit to sort of sand first, and then you work your way from 60 to 100 to 200 and all the way back into 400 grits, and you get this polished kind of finished concrete, which gives this beautiful look to the sense of arrival into the garage. And you come out and you step on it, which is going to be really smooth, beautiful acid wash concrete.
challenges that we got on this project. It's been the colored concrete, the pour foam concrete walls.
Yeah.
Everything's exposed. Everything that you see is just gonna stay the way it is. And it's one of the projects that is keeping us busy for the entire last year and part of this year. And which most concrete, this is what it does. This is what most concrete does right here.
Yeah, Mo is amazing. I mean, I really enjoyed working with you guys. The team is amazing. I mean, it's just incredible the way they work. It's so hard. This is really hard work, you know. If you see them working, they're like, it's a swarm effect. You know, they're like all in sync. You know, that's really like watching them put it all together and with such precision. So.
Yeah, this is the type of work that we gotta be precise and just gotta stay on top of it throughout on a daily basis. Whenever we're here, we just gotta stay on top of it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of issues that we gotta address with you,
Yes.
with the crew, with the entire scenario that we got throughout the job. That's pretty much it.
So they're finishing this beautiful concrete on the room that is below, which is the powder room, and this is the structural slab that they're pouring, on which there'll be a topping slab of the arrival court. And then what you're looking at is the finished garage, the powder room, the wash, and the entire west area and the guest house. And from the cul-de-sac at Charles Drive, you get this beautiful bird's eye view, how the other houses are going to look down on it, and then this house is going to stand out. It's going to look at the McDowell Mountains and then the Mummy Mountains at the back.
So I know the process of getting a house like this permitted through the town of Paradise Valley is complicated, and it's even more complicated when you have a wash running through. Can you go into a little more detail about that?
Yes. So each wash has a 100-year flood data that a civil engineer needs to look at, okay? And what the civil engineer does, he takes that data and adds 2 more feet to it, which actually prescribes the finished floor elevation of the house when you cross the wash, so that any water coming down very easily can pass down. So there is a line, imaginary line, that is prescribed into the survey, or the topographic survey, that you cannot cross. You cannot build beyond that line. So we had to make these 2 bund walls on both the sides, which actually are outside of that limits. And then we were able to then span over with this heavy beams, which are weights and a fallen tree. We created this as a glass floor. Now the glass doesn't directly sit on this particular, the beam, it is elevated, so it floats over that. So it maintains its delicacy about the light and how much light it can allow down and also up. So in the nighttime, these beams are going to be downward lit. So any of that bounces the light and brings you back into the living room. So that's the idea of having a glass floor. Plus it connects you to this natural occurring wash. It connects you to the courtyard outside. And as you cross from the west bar to the east bar, you're always reminded that you are spanning over the wash.